Run that back, turbo.
You can get the biggest Chanel back in the store if you want it. I gave them the drill, they sucked it up, I got them.
What's up, y'all? We are right back at it. We gotta get into marriage boot camp, and we're also gonna talk about Waka and Tammy. I'm gonna combine those because they just come on right after each other on WeTV, so to make it a lot easier. But marriage boot camp actually was a pretty mild episode, but it was still very intense because this was the week of the activities that basically brings up your childhood and how that affects you as an adult. So we really get into more of a backstory of each of the couples and, you know, why they are the way they are. And then on Waka and Tammy, shit got just too intense because they went to go see Dr. Siri, and then the therapy session basically went up in flames, okay? So we're gonna get into everything, but before we do, you make sure you hit that subscribe button though. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, become a part of the fam, and make sure to like the video as well. If you want to donate a little bit to your girl's Cash App just as a thank you, or just saying like you made my day, you know, anything is appreciated. You know, donate to the channel. It's definitely gonna be going right back to you guys. But nothing is too little, anything is appreciated, and just so far I just really appreciate the love and support that all you guys have been giving me, and the comments and dropping all the nice comments and stuff like that. I really appreciate it. So nonetheless though, you guys, let's get into marriage boot camp first. It kind of was just opened up with Michelle and Stu talking about how she has to get over her past. Michelle was in some fucked up relationship. She dated the thuggest gangster of the gangsters, okay? Like, they pistol whipped you if you looked at them the wrong way. So Michelle has to learn to accept Stu and, you know, realize he's a good guy and not wait for it to explode. And she pushes him off, you know, as a defense mechanism. But Stu is also battling because he's like, well, how much more, you know, can I give to make her open up to me? Like, am I asking for something that Michelle just might not be able to give me? So, you know, that's going to be, you know, the battle that they have continuously been having. Jocelyn's in the room crying because the whole Bonnie Bella situation. Ballistic has got to calm her down because she obviously feels like, dang, I must be a bad mother. You know, is he really going to do this to me? But obviously we see now, you know, through other shows and stuff like that, they've reached an agreement with Bonnie Bella. But nonetheless, they all go downstairs and they see like these little tattoo stations. And Dr. Ish tells them, you are going to put down one good memory and two bad memories of, you know, super major events in your life that you remember and have an effect on you, you know, to this day. So everybody's painting down, you know, their, you know, life stories and what they went through, and then they get up and talk to everybody about, you know, all the stuff that happened. So on one side we got Styles P. They split them up, and so Styles P goes and he basically explained he had a stepdad that was so much strict that it kind of borderline abuse, which is what a lot of, you know, kind of black kids go through. Like, you got your ass whooped. Some would say, you know, some people like, oh, you know, I was thankful for having parents who, you know, disciplined me and stuff like that. But there's still that fine line of like where parents tend to take their anger out, you know, dealing with life shit on their kids. And I think that's kind of what Styles P went through. So it forced him to be hard. And then Michelle, you know, she had to deal with somebody getting beat around her 24/7. Her mom got beat up by her boyfriend. And so that's where her love of music came from, because when they moved in the house, it had a stereo. So when they were fighting, she would turn up the music and, you know, that would kind of be her piece. So that's kind of where her love of music came from. But she also, you know, even though it's kind of a bad memory, it's happy at the same time because, you know, she realizes like she's not getting beat no more. Her mom's not getting beat no more. So she always finds the positive, you know, in bad situations. Audra, y'all, she went through a lot. She was molested as a kid. It was recorded. You know, they would videotape all the stuff that happened to her. And I just couldn't imagine going through that, you know, like as a 5, 6, 7-year-old. Like, that would be super intense to have to deal with, you know, somebody molesting you on camera. So, you know, that obviously shaped her. You know, Jocelyn and her can basically, you know, relate to each other with dealing with, you know, molestation. We all know Jocelyn had very tumultuous childhood, running around with the pimps and hoes. Like, that's how she learned to be who she is. Like, everything is based off her body. If you watch Love and Hip Hop, we saw Jocelyn was super hypersexual. You know, the minute she was with somebody, she was throwing the cat at them, and that's what she was taught. You know, everything's a transaction. So Dr. Ish basically had to tell her, look, not everything has to be a transaction. For you, it's like, oh, Ballistic, you're gonna marry me or I'm gonna leave. Like, to her, like, that's the trade-off, right? So she has to train herself to not do that. Bianca had a childhood where it's like her mother worked all the time. She left her with whoever, and sometimes whoever she left her with, you know, beat her up. She said she got slapped in the eye hard one time. And in her confessional was kind of weird because she was like, oh, you know, it's good to talk to people, you know, who aren't just gonna be like, who are positive and who aren't just gonna be like, you were loved, you were loved. So I feel like she's probably brought this up to her family before, but they're not really accepting of what her perception of her childhood was. And I especially think that's why she said she doesn't really have a close relationship with her mom. So I'm just going to only assume that, like, her mom is not really trying to take accountability for what her not being super present in Bianca's life, you know, how it affected her. Chose, he obviously is a young dude lost, trying to figure out who he is. You know, he had this plan of going to the NFL, but then he messed up his knee. So now he's got to redirect the course. And I really feel like Chose would, if he had a set career and a path that what he wanted to do and he knew where he wanted to go in life, I really feel like he wouldn't be this huge, just asshole womanizer to Bianca. But I think he just does it because he can. And he ain't got nothing else to do with his time. Like, you claim you want to be a rapper and all that type of stuff, but it just always seems like you are willing to choose fucking around with women than your career chooses. Who else was it? CeeLo. CeeLo had a kind of different experience with dealing with friends, and you can understand why he's so odd, why he, you know, chooses to be crazy. And that's just his defense mechanism. It's like people looked at him, and I think that's why it explains why he got embarrassed so easily with Shani, because he hates the feeling of being embarrassed. And in his childhood, somebody spits on you and everybody's looking at you and laughing and stuff like that. So that feeling of embarrassment, he does not, you know, like at all. And it stems from his childhood. So now it's like, oh, people are going to call me weird, so I might as well be hella weird. I might as well go far out, you know, that direction. If I'm going to be crazy like they say I am, I might as well go all the way out. Ballistic, you know, he actually broke down, had a soft moment. You know, he ended up witnessing his grandmother, you know, having a stroke. He's the one who found her. Stu had a very intense moment, you know, realizing his dad passed away and his body was so decomposed that, you know, he didn't get to see him for the last time. And he was getting ready to, like, be like, oh, you know, just a funny little story. And Dr. Ish had to stop him because it is Stu's defense mechanism to always make a joke out of something, to always find, you know, try to put in a funny moment. And so Dr. Ish had to tell him, like, it doesn't have to be that way. Like, I get it. For most people, you know, laughter and, you know, trying to make a joke out of something is the easiest way to cope with it. But, you know, he's like, you just got to feel that pain. You got to allow it to happen. So everybody ends up having a kid that plays them. We all know how this thing goes. The kid comes out and basically talks as if it was them as a child. And, you know, all the kids go out there, and Michelle A's was pretty intense, how it was like, oh, you know, whatever comes with a man, that's just the real world. And, you know, because Dr. Ish was like, oh, you know, you want to be with somebody that, you know, treats you well and is there to encourage you for what you do. Like, you wouldn't accept anything. And she's like I said, it's the real world. So for Michelle A, it's like, she's going to accept the fact that, oh, if I want a good man, bad stuff is just going to have to come with it, you know, and that's sad. You know, she was kind of explaining, like, she wished she had somebody who was there for her that would have saved her 40 years of heartache. And it's very important to open up to certain people and try to get that advice sometimes when you're in a stuck situation. Boy, Bianca, as a little girl, like, she came in hard. Bianca knew immediately that was her because that's just her, like, she's always been super hard. And she's got to do that because, you know, when she's talking to other people, you know, her family, especially, like, she feels like her family's not understanding that, like, she, from her perspective, doesn't really feel loved. So if she's not feeling like I'm not getting loved by somebody, I might as well fight them, which is what she does with Chosen. She's like, I'm gonna fight you to love me. You're gonna love me, okay? And Chosen, that's why he's able to go out and do whatever he does, because she is just trying to make sure that she finds love in somebody, you know, no matter what. Audrey was a little girl, you know, she came out there and, you know, talked about how, you know, she was getting touched and he videotaped me and I'm not going to deal with the devil. Shani was a kind of different one where for her, it's like she needs to control everything. For her, it's like, I need to make sure everything is in place, everything is in order, so I feel comfortable. But nonetheless, everybody's, kid story, and they had them tattooed on them. So after that, Dr. Judge Toller came out there, talked to everybody, and everybody was kind of like, just realizing everybody has a story. The ladies end up talking to Jocelyn and be like, a lot of people just see this outside shell that you give them and not what, goes behind it, which is what a lot of people have been saying about Jocelyn for a long time. She was doing some fucked up stuff on Love and Hip Hop. So when you see what she went through and how she basically was pimped out and, she was raised by a madam or whoever, or, hoes on the street, that's what Jocelyn knows. She knows the street life, and that's the only way she knows how to act. Stu, Styles P was talking to the dude. He was like, when your little dude came out, you was smiling at him, but then when Chalet came out, you were stone-faced. And, he has to understand how to basically empathize with Michelle, what she's going through, and possibly not push her too much. So Bianca and Chose is upstairs, and they're talking about the lie detector test coming up because everybody's out there one question for the next activity. And she's like, oh, I know my question. And he's like, yeah, it probably is, oh, was I faithful to you in our relationship? She don't need the lie detector test for that. We already knew you was fucking around on her. There's no point even asking that question. But Bianca revealed her question actually is he in love with the other female? Because if he's in love, she feel like that would be the breaking straw. Bitch, no it ain't. He can tell you that he in love with that other bitch and you still gonna fuck around with him because you got some insecurities that you gotta work through, Bianca. And so while they're talking, Michelle and Stu are talking, and he's kind of realized, he's like, Michelle, you okay? You kind of feel off, you're acting weird. And she's just like, I'm emotionally drained, I'm whooped. And, she tells him, she's got to retrain herself to understand, okay, it's okay for you to love me. Dr. Ish ended up talking to her earlier that day and pulling her to the side because he's, witnessing how she's acting and stuff like that. And he basically got her to understand, you create this narrative in your head and you put on this facade of a relationship and being in love with somebody without truly being in love with them because she doesn't want her allow herself to get hurt. So she'll just play along with the relationship. She'll entertain Stu. She'll have the actions of being in a relationship, but she's not really committed to it like that. She's not really giving her full and everything. So Michelle, you can't expect the relationship to work if you only half-assing it, So nonetheless, her and Stu are talking, and Stu is realizing, damn, we might have just totally went separate opposite ways with our relationship by coming here, and he's kind of regretting that. So that's where the episode ends right there. It wasn't really a lot going on. We just kind of really got to see the backstories, with all the couples. So let's move on to What the Flocka, Waka and Tammy's little show. So this episode is basically about, keeping secrets. Is it good to keep secrets in a marriage? And I feel like, little white lies, sometimes you just gotta tell to just make it easier, okay? But when it comes to big, important stuff, no, you should not be lying to your partner about any of that. So we see Tammy breaking down. She's in the closet, supposed to be going to the studio. She canceled it, and her manager is trying to check on her. And she's trying not to be vulnerable because the cameras are there. But finally, she lets it out. She is just like, I can't do it. Everybody's pulling for me. I'm going whichever way direction. I don't know what I can do anymore to just fix it. So he's, consoling her and stuff. And he's like, you got it. We just got to prioritize, organize, make sure what's most important comes first. And then whatever else, will follow. I think Tammy has always been the dependable person, And when you're the person that's always dependable, who can be strong and do everything on your own and be independent and be there for everybody else, that becomes exhausting, okay? And I think she kind of reached that point. Obviously, trying to be a wife, a mother, an artist, an entrepreneur, it's a lot. So Waka, he ends up, considering that he wants Tammy to go to therapy with him after talking to Dr. Siri. Now, he ain't gonna tell Tammy that it's for both of them. He lied and said, oh, it's for me, but I want you to come, just for support and stuff like that. And Tammy's already like, because every time Waka speaks, she's like, that nigga only give me 30% anytime. So I don't know if I can ever really fully trust what Waka be saying. But Tammy actually ends up going to talk to Deb. Deb couldn't help herself. She just had to go speak to Tammy. Even though the brat told her to butt her ass out, she just had to do it. So Tammy and Deb are sitting down, and Deb's asking, you know, like, what's going on? How are you feeling? And Tammy's like, bitch, I'm exhausted. I feel like I could sleep for a month and I would still be tired. And first of all, let's talk about how good Tammy looks without makeup. When she was talking to Deb, she is beautiful. Like, Tammy is beautiful. One of the few girls out there who actually, you know, is good with or without makeup. But Deb basically tells her, look, you can't be Superwoman. You need to organize what it is. If you feel like you want to have family days, make sure, okay, you know, you want to be there for your family. Sundays can be family day. Have dinner or something like that. And Tammy kind of took it as like, oh, here we go again. The only way I should be around my family is if I'm cooking or have my legs up having a baby. And I get that was just probably just a defense mechanism because that's how she feels. Like, the only thing people want for her is to either, you know, pop out a baby or to cook for them and clean for them and be, you know, Mrs. Wife of the Year. But I don't think that's what Deb was saying. I think what she was trying to say is like, okay, make sure you're setting time aside for your family, regardless of what it is. Dedicate one day to them where you put everything else on the back burner so you can fulfill, you know, the wife and the mother part of it. But Deb basically like, girl, this is what you signed up for. You can't fail. So like, you just gotta, you know, do what it do. So Waka ends up going to talk to Tammy's mama. He wants advice and he needs to ask her about if it's a good idea to ask Tammy to go to therapy. So they're sitting down talking. He grubbing on the food and stuff like that. And they get to talking about, you know, their relationship and how Tammy could be hard. And the mama basically kind of explained to him when Waka asked, like, well, what was talking to Tammy like as a kid? And she's like, Tammy had to fight. She's always been a nurturer, though. But shit got hard when you're the light-skinned pretty girl around a whole bunch of ugly, insecure-ass bitches. They pick on you, and I get it. I definitely understand what it's like to be around girls who just pick on you for no reason. Like, when I moved to a new school when I was in junior high, like, my first week was hell because everybody was coming after me. And it was like, well, I ain't even doing nothing. I'm just here. I'm the new kid. And, you know, you got being a light-skinned girl when you're kind of around, you know, females of darker complexion. And in the world that we're in, you know, they say that's less beautiful. So when they see, you know, the complete opposite of that, a girl who's light-skinned and pretty, they're going to pick on you, make fights with you for no reason. So I can empathize with Tammy on that. But she's like, she had to be hard. So now for her, it's 0 to 100 real quick. She's a Tasmanian devil. Like, she might be 5'2", but she mighty. And, you know, Waka's like, man, I get it. Like, she just got to calm down, though. So he asked about, okay, I want to bring Tammy to therapy. And the mama's like, we know how Tammy is. She's stubborn. She don't want to take advice from nobody. Like, when she has an idea in her head, like, that's it. And I really wish Tammy would change her outlook on a lot of stuff and would change how she's not really receptive to other people's ideas and thoughts and, you know, criticisms. And I think that's where her and Waka get into, like, headbutt matches all the time. But she's like, you can try, you can make Tammy go, but I don't know how that's gonna work. So Tammy wants to talk to Charlie because she's like, you know, Charlie's this 14-year-old, got an attitude, you know, starting to get some lip on her. And, you know, she got to check her, but she needs to talk to her about obviously what happened with her cutting her hair because that heifer didn't want to listen. So Charlie comes upstairs and she was like, look, we need to talk this out. So she basically tells Charlie, like, look, you know what you did. Like, you got to start listening to me. When I tell you to do something, then you do it. And Charlie's like, well, you cut my hair. You didn't need to do that. Like, I feel like Charlie need to understand, like, stay in a child's place, okay? Like, they need to start checking Charlie a lot more because she a little bit too sassy to be 14. But, you know, she's like, well, I wanted to get my hair done. And when it needs to be done, you get mad. And then when it's not done, you get mad. So I don't know what you want me to tell you. And it's very obvious that you can feel like Charlie can't really talk to Tammy like that. Like, she kind of feels like she can never do anything right. And I think Tammy's kind of subconsciously taking a lot of shit out on Charlie which in return makes her act even more out, you know. But, you know, they smooth it over. Charlie's like, you know, me and my mom's relationship is up and down. Like, we're good. We'll talk it out. We'll be straight. And, you know, Tammy was like, girl, you better hug me. She's like, nope. And she tried to grab her. She, like, turned the other way. But they're good now, finally. So, Tammy comes in from, like, the studio or something. And Waka and Charlie are down there. Waka's down there. He's, like, fixing some fake-ass food, pretending to make dinner. And she comes in and he was kind of like messing with her. Like, Waka likes playing with Tammy. That's his way of flirting, his way of showing affection, like picking on Tammy. Because that's what you do when you're friends with somebody. You pick on each other. So Tammy got to the point where she knows, like, I can't fuck with Waka. Like, he gonna keep antagonizing me. You know, I'm just gonna let it be. Like, because if I keep playing into it, he's gonna keep doing it. Because she tried to light this candle. And then he took it, blew it out, and then lit it. It was like, why did you even do that? Like, it was already lit. So he loves doing that stupid stuff to Tammy. So when Charlie walked away, then he want to get all affection and stuff like that. She's like, why didn't you want to kiss me in front of Charlie? He was like, girl, that's too much. She's like, no, it's not. I'm your wife. And, you know, a lot of parents don't kind of really consider how, you know, important it is for sometimes to see a kid watch their parents be affectionate, you know, and stuff like that. It's like, that's actually, you know, quite an important part of a child's life, to witness the love between, you know, two adults and two parents, what it looks like and stuff like that. So yeah, you know, be comfortable kissing your spouse in front of your kids, you know, because one day they're gonna grow up and need to understand, like, that's what love looks like. So, you know, at this point, he kind of tells her, look, you know, we got the therapy session going. She don't think she needed, of course. She thinks Waka's psycho. He the one who needed. She don't need to talk to no shrink. Like, Tammy's being super resistant. But they finally go, they walk in, and she realized she been bamboozled, that it wasn't no damn Waka therapy session. It was a couple stuff, and she kind of knew that. She's like, I asked that fool too, and that nigga lied to me, of course. So they get into the discussion, and the first topic that comes up is kind of like how they're not really balancing each other, and how Tammy had to basically fight the world when she first got with Waka. You know, she wasn't knowing what to expect when she started dating him. And she moved to Georgia for this man. And she's like, I feel like it was me fighting 1,000 demons, like everything on my own, demons that he didn't even know about. And it was hard for her, understandably so, especially with him cheating on her and doing the mostest. Like, she had to deal with a lot. But then Waka was like, well, I got an issue. Was like, I'll tell her I don't like something, don't bring it around me. And she does it because she feel like, oh, that's a way to make me compromise. And so they're butting their heads on what compromising should mean, what it should be. Then it's like, oh, well, you don't want to listen to me when I say, let's do this. And then when it comes to disciplining Charlie, they were trying not to really go all the way out there because the cameras were there. And Waka was even like, oh, let's not talk about it. Because she was like, oh, you feel a certain type of way, like name specifics. He's like, nah, I'm all right. And she's like, well, you can't bring it up if you don't have specifics. And you could tell Waka just wasn't really trying to put it out there like that. He wanted to talk in private. So then that makes her upset. But then Dr. Savy was like, okay, when it comes to Charlie, like, what do you want out of that? And he's like, you know, she's always complaining that I don't discipline, that we don't do it together. But it's like, you can't punish Charlie when I'm not there. Like, let's do it together. Now, she's, you know, taking what Waka is saying about how she is with Charlie, basically as a dig to her mothering. And I really wish she just was listening to what Waka said. Like, they kept talking over each other, so they weren't getting nowhere. The minute somebody said something they didn't like, they just, no, let me speak. Like, that's the problem. They low-key really be saying the same exact things, just in their own way. And so, I don't know where the miscommunication is happening, but they really basically have the same complaints of each other. So then she was like, I don't know what Waka's telling me, that I don't discipline my child because, you know, he needs to understand when we weren't together, he was out there doing his thing. It was just me and Charlie. So I know what I'm doing. I know my child. And you don't even be sticking to it. You can't even stick to nothing. Which Waka you don't. You need to stick to punishing Charlie because she knows how to play y'all two hoes. She be playing y'all against each other. And she knows how to get what she wants out of Waka because he's a softie. So now Tammy's mad at that because she's like, you want to talk about motherhood, but you won't even do it. Like, plus you're not even home enough to sit there and do that. Like, that was a jab at Waka. It was kind of unnecessary at that. So now they both mad. the therapy session is over. They get in the car, and Tammy's like, I knew I shouldn't even came. But you know, you psycho. I thought it was more for you, but maybe I, you know, should think about getting some therapy too. Bitch, you should, because you know, especially then he was like, oh, why is Tammy so hard? And he was like, I know, cause her childhood. She was like, no, she's like, my childhood is what it is. You know, it made me who I am. And I don't think Tammy has really just like unpacked her childhood and the effect that it had on her. She was kind of like, you know, nonchalant about the idea of how much her childhood could possibly be affecting her right now. She was like, you know, it just is what it is. It made me who I am. Like, I'm not going to say that my childhood did this and this. And it was like, Tammy, you ain't no dumb bitch. Like, you intelligent. You know exactly what makes you who you are, makes you react the way you act. And I think a lot of it does have to do with her childhood. Then on top of that, Waka cheating. He talking about, oh, cheating made her a beast and made her better. The fuck? What kind of logic is that? Like, I'm not understanding where you thought that logic came from, Waka. But they in the car arguing because it's like, why didn't you bring it up? And you don't even remember what you were saying. And like, it was bad. Like, they just keep talking over each other, and it's not going to end well. They need to quit doing couples therapy until they individually work out their own shit, okay? Especially Tammy. Like, Tammy has a lot to unpack because that breakdown in the closet was something serious. So, y'all tell me what you thought about the episode, Waka Flocka and Marriage Boot Camp. When it comes to, you know, what the Flocka, Tammy, and them, like, do you think Tammy is not really admitting to how much her childhood, you know, affects her life? I don't know. We're going to see how it plays out next week. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Deuces.